I guess what I want to help us do is say, okay, so what do you do if you're in that situation and you see that something is happening in your church? Now, one of the things that comes into play here is the difference between church hurt
Mhm.
and church abuse,
Mhm.
and discerning something within your pastor or leadership that you need to pray about versus discerning something in your pastor or leadership that needs you to speak about.
Mhm.
Like, call it out. And I can say through life experience at this point that cycles of abuse, cycles
Mhm.
of dysfunction, cycles of sin will continue until you stand up and say and do something about it. So this whole like just be quiet and pray,
Yeah.
there's a time for that, and the Lord will tell you when you need to pray. And then there's a season where you need to speak up, stand up, do something about it. Like
Mhm.
the men on the battlefield with David, they were all just hanging out waiting for a deliverer.
Mhm.
And David's like, why are all these grown men standing here allowing this? It took this young person who was bold and courageous to and filled with the Spirit of God to come in and bring the change that was needed. Christina, what do you have to say about
There's so much. I mean, this is,
that?
I think this is, it's just, it goes back to action and accountability. Do we even know what that looks like? Do
Yeah.
we know what healthy action and accountability looks like? And it goes back to relationships. So Belinda did a wonderful way explaining, like taking it back to the heart of the Father. And just, even if you can't hear the Lord or you're like, I'm struggling, like just be consistent, like she said, with the fasting and the praying and the reading of the word, because he'll be faithful to meet you with what your needs are. And so I thought that was beautiful what she shared and encouraging to so many. But I feel like, too, just specifically speaking with the church, like finding safety in many advisors, right? And and like you said, I know you're like, well, this, we don't want to come from a spirit of gossip, but actually from maturity and
Yeah.
the wisdom of the Lord to present to the leadership team, if possible, on a specific topic or something that's happening. And 9 times out of 10, they already know what's happening. It's just more confirmation with more people presenting it and bringing it to the surface. And so I think that's where we're at. The Lord is shaking and shifting. I just feel like there's such a separation between sheep and goats, and people are waking up. People are waking up in not only to a new sound of the Lord, but also just a new, I feel like there's such a deep call and cry for purity over his sons and daughters in a new way. And even just speaking specifically to the leadership team, like what are your protocols when you have someone step into
Oh,
leadership? do
on.
you do you find out, like, is there any type of assessment? Do you know their beliefs? Do you know their backgrounds? Do you know, like, were they just recently saved from a cult? Like, maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't have them lead, worship yet. And disciple and get to know them and build trust and build relationship, and just being wise. And I can't say it enough, because there's a lot of people that I work with that have so much hurt, whether it's religious abuse or some type of fashion of abuse, but just doing your best to read the word of God daily. And just, even if you're just sitting on the floor face down with worship, just crying out for him, like, I need you, I need to hear you. Maybe we're presented with a lot of false Jesuses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the true Yeshua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, like, he is just so ready to just encounter his children in a new way. And I feel like people are coming
Yeah.
out of that system of man and that system of religion. And so I feel like it's supposed to be about family, and that's kind of where we're going. But not being afraid to bring up things, because what happens in wherever there's sexual abuse growing up, what do? It's like the don't tell, right?
Yeah. The
Like, don't,
cover up.
yeah, cover up, like
Secret.
silence. It's an oath to secrecy,
Yeah.
really. And so that's what we're seeing in the church today. And I just
The
feel like
weapon of the enemy.
it is. And so the Lord is the weapon today for the church this hour, is our voice.